Welcome, everybody. We're happy to have you here. So thank you for being here. Thank you for our community, all of you prospectors, all of you people that are following us. This is the REDX podcast where we bring amazingly talented people on the show so that you can find stability and opportunity in any market that we're bringing to you. New practices, best practices, and things that you can implement into your business right now. Some of you joined for accountability and are on with us every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that's awesome. Hopefully we'll bring some of that to you and you'll be asking yourself, what can I do better by the end of the show? Some of you come to learn new things. We definitely will have today. There's some really exciting topics we're going to talk about. And some of you just come to get a boost in your mindset and some motivation to get out there and do the hard work. Real estate can be hard. And certainly with COVID, it's been tough out there. But that's why we're doing the show, is to help get through all of this. Now, certainly this is not passive reception won't do on this podcast. It's something you got to participate in. So do me a favor. And the first thing that we'd ask is let us know that you can hear us. There's technology and internet connection. So if you could post in the comments where you're at, where you're listening from, at least that gives us an idea. And then when the team on the back end gives me a thumbs up, I'll know everything's good to go there. And also grab a piece of paper or a notepad or your iPad or do something where you can take notes. Because again, we're going to spend 45 minutes together. If you don't walk away with something you can implement into your business right now, or if you don't walk away with something that uplifted you or motivated you or did something, then it was kind of a waste of time. Then we failed you, and we certainly don't bring people on here to fail you. We bring the best of the best and put them in front of you, which brings us to the introduction. Sarah Bernard, thank you so much for joining the show today.
So happy to be here, Curtis. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm going to let you do an introduction and tell people who you are and where you're from, but and then I'll jump in and fill in any, because if you undersell yourself, I'll jump in and help there. But why don't you tell the audience where you're from, your market, and a little bit about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, and my background is really in business. And I started out in consumer products marketing and way back, and I've been in business for several decades. We won't go into all the details there, but real estate really came into my life in 2008. Interestingly, not as a real estate agent per se, but doing investment purchasing of. I started with a vacation rental property, and I saw an opportunity at a resort where I had a second home. So that was 2008, right before, literally a month before the bottom dropped out of our economy. And timing you would think would have been terrible, but actually it was really wonderful. We never could have predicted the good that comes out of the bad, right? Just like the pandemic right now. And what happened, this was 2008, and if you remember, it was the start of the staycation. That word came into our vocabulary back then. So having a vacation investment property, and it was literally, I bought it as an investment, not to stay there, but to rent it out to other families in this resort community about an hour outside of St. Louis. And so what happened was people all of a sudden were canceling their vacations to Florida and Europe and wherever, and driving an hour to our resort. So my one little vacation rental, which was listed on VRBO and HomeAway at the time, became, right out of the gate, was very successful and paid for itself. So that was 2008. That business then grew and grew. It's a pretty big business for us today, but started with one property, added another one a couple years later, then started managing other people's properties, all at this one resort. And back in 2008, Airbnb was just a gem of an idea in two young men's minds living in San Francisco. They were just starting. These guys were living in this apartment. They were designers. They wanted to go to this design conference, and they didn't have the money to do that. So they had an extra room and an air mattress in their apartment, and they thought, well, if we could rent that air mattress, we could get enough money. Rent it to somebody going to the conference, get enough money to go to the conference. So that's what they did. So Airbnb, literally, when it first started a couple years later, you had to have an air mattress to rent in your own home, right? So this whole vacation rental industry grew from VRBO and HomeAway, which were the market leaders in 2008, to then Airbnb taking over. So my business in real estate started following that path, and then got into residential real estate in the very beginning of 2014, so just 6 years ago, and with the idea that I would not actually work in by helping buyers and sellers, but just referring people into the vacation world to buy their own second homes. I really did not want to be a real estate agent. I had no interest. I really kind of had a bad image in my mind of real estate agents. And so here I am. And I actually have a big business and a big team today in St. Louis. And we're kicking it and super excited and having a ton of fun. And we still have this vacation business, which has taken on a life of its own. So that's me.
Thank you so much. So just for the audience, one of the reasons why Sarah's here today is because we're looking for relevant topics. We try to listen to what you're asking and what you're saying, and there's been a tremendous amount of influx of real estate investors or more real estate agents who are looking into the investment world and calling us and asking our sales and support team how we can support those things. And so we were listening to the market, listening to you about what was important to you right now. As we've gone out, maybe some of you can relate to this. It's that COVID made it painfully obvious that when sales start to slow down, so does your income. I think that we're hearing that from a lot of agents. Maybe if that relates to you, let us know in the comments there. But the other thing is that just made it also aware of retirement and the exit strategy and what do we do, and of course this idea of second income. And even in the Facebook group, Sarah, we're seeing a lot of people saying, "Hey, what's your side hustle? Like what else do you do, or where do you invest your money?" And so we thought we would bring you to the market and talk about this second pillar of income with these vacation rentals and owning them and property management. And you own some, you manage some, and then you built a very large and successful team in residential real estate. So you're kind of the example of what a lot of us want to become with this multiple streams of income. And I hate to use that term because I think it's overused, but in our industry, it's so necessary if we want the life that we got into real estate to achieve.
Yeah, and I have to be honest, it was somewhat by accident. I didn't set out thinking I need multiple streams of income. There's been times along the way that it's been really difficult. And, when my role as a team leader and as a real estate agent, I'm the listing agent for our team, there's some days where I'm spending half my day dealing with hiring housekeepers and making sure we've got toilet paper and paper towels. I mean, which actually did become a real issue there for a little while. But, so I get pulled in a lot of directions. And along these years, I've thought sometimes, have I got too much going on, too many balls in the air, and needing to hire a lot of people to help out and manage. And the vacation rental industry is a low margin industry, very different from real estate. It's very there's a lot of moving parts, and it's heavy on the salary side, and it's complicated, and it's not. It's complicated, but it's also very, very gratifying. You're working with people who are on vacation, so that's always a good thing. So
well, don't talk us out of it. I think that you're here to try to teach us how to get into it there, Sarah.
I know I'm sounding a little negative, but I just want to be honest that at times when we have multiple streams of income, you have to be ever more organized, planful about your time. You have to be strategic. You have to have really good business plans for both businesses. You have to have the right people in place. And I think so often in the real estate industry, we think we can do it all ourselves. And I see that as a trap that a lot of real estate agents get into. They're not able or willing to give up a little income just to get some help. And without, I know more than anybody, I guess, that by hiring, it's allowed my businesses to grow. And without the people helping me, there's absolutely no way we could have grown to the level that we are today. And we're not even where I'd like to be, where we will be even a year from now. We're still growing and have great sights in mind. So it's, I just want to be honest that there's been times that I've thought, gosh, am I doing the right thing? But the vacation business has really been a feeder to our real estate business. And that's one reason I never gave it up, because those vacation renters become second home buyers. And the second home market, even right here in Missouri, of all places, is actually a really big business for my team. So we have a little niche there. You wouldn't think, right? But
well, look, back to, I don't think there's a difference between being realistic and setting the right expectations than being negative. And don't we all wish before we got our real estate license that somebody would have told us that I think there's a lot of us that did the math and we're like, man, I got to sell like 6 homes and this is going to be easy. And it's not. It's a hard business. And
right.
And there's steep competition. And so, yeah, I think we go into things eyes wide open. But what I'm excited about is that we're talking about this, especially because of the short conversation we had before we started the show live here, where you were talking about how valuable having that vacation rental was to your business during COVID. And,
oh my goodness!
And why don't you talk to us about
Yeah.
that? Because now this I think is where it starts to get into. Okay, it's hard, but this is why it's worth it. So why is it worth it?
Yeah. So I'll tell you exactly what happened. It's actually a really great story. So when COVID happened, so it was about middle of March, end of March, things were shutting down. I have a college student in New York. His school was one of the first ones to shut down, and all of a sudden he's home, which we thought was only for an extended spring break. Everything was changing pretty quickly, right? I mean, literally day by day. And so states started shutting down, and again, just like in 2008, people's vacations started getting canceled really quickly. And so their vacations, because it was spring break time, so people's trips to Cancun and Florida, wherever, were getting canceled. And so that's normally a fairly busy time for us. I mean, it's not super busy in March in Missouri at our vacation rentals, but it's okay. Like, we usually book most of the properties during that time. But all of a sudden we got an influx of demand for people whose vacations were booking. So that felt good, right? But then Missouri started to shut down, and the governor came out with an order that, a stay-at-home order. And all of a sudden, like within an hour, we were getting calls from our guests saying, should we, are we going to be able to go to your properties? We didn't know. Like, I literally went to the state of Missouri website and read the governor's order to understand, are we in business? Or are we not in business? So in the meantime, real estate, I remember the day I said to the team, we have an office, we all work out of an office. And I said, we're shutting down the office. We're going to work from home. We're going to Zoom like we've never Zoomed before. We always have used Zoom for years, but now we're going to start doing it every single morning with both our vacation rental team and our real estate team. And I said to my real estate team, I want you to take home a list of all of your leads, everyone, all of your past clients, all your current buyers, all of your best friends. Literally make a list of all of these people, Excel spreadsheet or whatever. And I want you to start a very heavy call plan every day. People are going to be home. Start calling them, because that your business, you're not going to have a business for a while. We didn't know what it would look like, but I knew that if we stayed in touch with people, that eventually we're going to be okay. But I also felt that
if I could just jump in there right now, I mean, there's states right now talking about closing back up, right? And so if I mean, that's not the topic of the call, but if people are listening, especially if you're in, some of these states that are talking about going backwards and closing up again, including California, you got to write that down. I mean, that was a great tip, to write down every single lead that you ever had, come up with a call plan. You got to do something if you keep in touch. I mean, you just said it, Sarah,
So we're pretty sophisticated on my team, and we have a very robust database CRM system. We do all that stuff, but I literally took out a legal pad and hand wrote my list. I had like 5 pages, and there was something about that, going back to the basics, literal basics, that just felt right at the time. So that's a good thing to remember. But in any case, thinking the residential real estate business is going to be put on hold for a while, maybe gone for the year. I mean, it really felt like this could be it. I thought my buyer agents were going to possibly leave the business. I didn't know what I was going to have left. But in the meantime, this vacation rental business is gearing up, right? So typically the way my two pillars of income work is the real estate carries the vacation rental business is lower margin, higher costs in terms of people primarily, whereas the real estate, most of our money is spent in marketing, not so much on people except for administrative assistance. So the buyer agents being on commission basis, right? So that business typically carries my vacation rental business. It's a higher profit margin. All of a sudden, I realized we are going to have to shift really quickly into how we look at our income stream, how we're going to pay our bills. So I went to my vacation rental team. I said, it is now your turn to carry this business. And I set a very, very high goal for them in terms of the number of nights that they had to book every week and the amount of profit. So my team, who never really had looked at profit, so, I do, but not everyone really paid attention to that. They got educated super quickly. We put together spreadsheets that every night that was booked, everyone on the team knew exactly to the dollar how much we were making profit-wise on that night booked. And our properties are different. So some properties, the percentage that is, the profit percentage varies by the property. But now everyone on the team knows exactly which properties are really carrying our business. So it was a Zoom call and I said, okay, you guys, here's my spreadsheet that I put together in like 5 minutes. I said, we need to, this is the amount of money that you need to make every month, which was probably 4 times what we normally would make, I would say. Wow. And they looked at me like, you are absolutely crazy and there's no way we can do it. And they even said, Sarah, do you realize we're limited by the calendar. We only have so many nights that we can book.
Right.
And I said, but you guys are looking at it so short-sighted. You're looking at this month. We can be selling September, October. We can sell next year. The calendar it goes on and on, right? So I said, let's get creative. And at first, there was a response to discount our properties just to get them booked. That changed very quickly when we saw how much demand there really was for our properties. So the first month we came short of our goal. The second month, so the first month was April, I guess. May, that team tripled that high goal that I set out there. And June, same thing again. And it really was a testament to, if you set a goal and you make it a very clear goal for yourself or for your team, if it's, and I'm a believer in putting it in writing, and then you sit back and you do that work, right? You don't give up. And my team, most of them were getting paychecks, so they weren't on commission. They felt first of all, they were grateful for having a job when a lot of people were getting laid off. They didn't want to get laid off. And they felt, I think, an allegiance to our business. And so they worked their darn tails off and they achieved the goal. So it was a testament to the, I would say, what we as humans are capable of doing when we have to get it done.
Yeah, I mean that's great. The external pressure, right?
Yeah. And we are sold out. I mean, it's never been. We're sold out for a couple of months right now, and it's never been a literal sellout. And the thing is, now things are here a little bit, things are lightening up a little bit. But that momentum that we started hasn't gone away. Because we got super busy, we had to recreate systems. At one point, we hired a 15-year-old who automated. I mean, this is like hard to believe, but she actually automated some processes that we were doing manually. She was 15. And we were just like grabbing people, but they're, these teenagers are so sharp, and and I hired her like kind of ongoing, but she automated herself out of a job in a week. And right. So we have interns that have worked really hard for us. So it's been really fun, and thankfully, having that other pillar, my goodness, has been a true blessing to the business, because we never ever lost ground.
That's amazing.
And then real estate came bounding back, and we're known for, we sell regular suburban and urban homes. We do it all, but about 50% of our business is vacation homes, and we're known for that. And the vacation home business here in Missouri went through the roof because all of a sudden people needed a place to go. We started selling lake homes to people who lived in town because they said, if we're going to be working from home, or now that we know we can work from home, and this might continue, and we might want it to continue, I want to be looking out at a beautiful setting, right?
Right.
So people's, vision of what their home should be like has changed.
I wrote down like a 1,000 things we could talk about, but for the sake of who's listening, there's kind of two opportunities that you have here, because you have the business side of managing rental properties,
Right.
but you also started this whole thing by buying your own rental property.
That's right. Yeah.
And so talk to me about that. Would you recommend that to everybody? As we're getting calls and people saying, I'm going to invest in real estate, maybe I'm going to wait to see if values change, maybe I need to jump in now. They want to invest because they want another stream of income. Do you recommend vacation rentals as where they should be looking, and then why?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do, I do and don't. And for me, it's worked out really well because we had a place that's within a drive. Well, it's an hour away, literally, this resort. And a lot of people from St. Louis will go there. And I do really, what really has helped me is that at the beginning, it was my own property. I learned by managing my own. I didn't know anything about it. I never had stayed in a vacation home myself. So I learned a lot just by doing it, by educating, by reading, by talking to others. Even my housekeeper at that time had stayed in vacation rentals in Florida. She helped me understand how to take the money, how to take deposits, security deposits, all that kind of stuff. I do believe that it is the best way that we can learn in anything is to do it ourselves. And if not everyone has the ability or interest, or I'd say, to buy an investment property, right? As a real estate agent, it may not be something that people want to do or can do. And if you're not in a market where there's a vacation rental market, it would be difficult. So here are the challenges. The short-term rentals can be highly profitable, because unlike a monthly rental, like an apartment, right, you're getting 3 to 4 times that nightly rate because it's a short-term rental, it's a vacation rental. Right. So that's the upside. The downside is you're turning that property 10 times a month, possibly. So that's 10 different lease agreements, 10 different cleaning, maintenance, supplies, all that kind of stuff. That's where I said earlier, there's a lot of moving parts in this business.
Right.
It's not like managing an apartment. I actually am thinking about managing apartments because I think it'll be super easy compared to what we've learned in this vacation rental business. But the one thing is, I always tell people when they say, well, how do I start? Or how do I pick a vacation rental property? Most people will buy it with the intent that they're going to spend some of their own time in that property, and they're going to rent it out the time they're not there for income. And I say start with a place that you want to go to, because if you want to go to, you're going to enjoy it a lot more. You're not going to worry as much about the income on those months that are a little slower. Maybe you'll get to spend more time there. So there's that inherent benefit as well as the revenue. So.
And that answers a great question, because somebody listening, Amanda, asked if you recommended buying in the same geographic location. I think the answer you just gave is buy where you would want to go vacation and spend some time there and do that. So
and it might sound crazy to some people to buy a vacation home that's within a short drive of your own home, but I've found to be true in this market that you can drive 30 minutes, 45 minutes. If you're going to a vacation home, you're going to still feel like you're on vacation. That plane trip or that 12-hour drive with kids screaming in the backseat is not necessary to get away.
That was me growing up. And the first time I took my wife up to where I grew up, I said, oh, this is where we stay, and we'd go camping and we'd swim in the lake here. And she goes, aren't we like 15 minutes from your house? And I had never thought about that. I kind of thought, I go, yeah, I guess we did, but none of those memories mattered to to me growing up, and to, you know, so if you're thinking about the idea of a vacation, I think I agree with you. It doesn't matter where it's at.
Yeah, and there's so many benefits to having your vacation home close to your own your everyday home, because you can probably continue working. If your spouse has a job where they need to drive to an office every day, they can possibly still get there if it's within an hour or two as needed. Kids, friends, you know, I raised my kids at this resort community, and we would just pack up at the end of the school year and go out for the summertime, and their friends could still come for the day and hang out. So yes, in your own geographic area, and depending on where you live, but I can't imagine a state in this country that doesn't have a beautiful second home area within an hour or two.
Right.
But the other thing to consider is the restrictions that a lot of communities are putting on short-term rentals. And this is really, really important. So, and it's changing all the time. So before someone buys a home or advises a client to buy a home that would become a second home, if they intend to rent it, they need to find out what the restrictions are in that community. That it's changing all the time. And I know even here in our own community, there's pockets of municipalities here that we could not put in Airbnb properties. So it's, you have to educate. A lot of communities don't like it, some for very good reason. But you know, and even where we have properties, I mean, it's crossed my mind over the years, you know, are we too deep into this one resort? Could it change tomorrow? And absolutely it could. But I also know we could sell those properties in a heartbeat if we had to. So.
Right. So a couple of questions. So step one, if they want to get into the vacation rental, your recommendation is buy something yourself and something that you could use, because then you're more invested in learning the process. Do you recommend that people manage it themselves, or right out of the gate find a company like yours that would manage the property? Yeah, well, I'll stop there. I have more, but let's go with that one.
Yeah. I think it depends on the person. And I mean, I would say pick a company like mine, of course, because we see a lot of rookie mistakes. And, you know, one of the mistakes that people commonly make is they don't own the property in an LLC. They're not protected in case of an issue with an injury. I mean, we've never had anything like that in 12 years, but you just never know, right?
Right.
So, and then state sales tax. I mean, almost every state, you have to pay sales tax on those rental income. So most people, a lot of people are out renting their property on Airbnb, and they're not, or Airbnb actually pays it for you, but some on their own, they don't know to do that. I think if people know to do it, they're going to do it. But it's just, you have to know all the ins and outs. It's very different from managing an apartment in a college town.
So the advantage, though, again, because primarily we have real estate agents watching, if you want to expand your business into property management and manage vacation rentals, you got your start by doing it yourself, and that expedited the learning curve so you could better manage everybody else.
100%. Yeah. If it's something that you want to get into as a business, first of all, doing it yourself, there's no better way to learn how to do that. Honestly, there's a lot of intricate details, but it's not rocket science. It's not that hard. You're managing people on vacation, so set their expectations. You know, you manage the expectations. Yeah, there was something else I was going to say, and I lost my train of thought.
My second question on top of that, you know, if you recommended managing yourself, if somebody did choose to manage it themselves for whatever reason, whether it's just theirs and they just want to do it, or because they want to learn so they can start a property management and manage vacation rentals, you know, I'm already thinking through the answer, but what's the time commitment that you would say somebody needs to kind of give themselves if they're managing just one vacation rental
It's a good question. And I used to think about that a lot. Like, how much time was I really spending on it? If you're managing one vacation rental, you're looking at an hour a day at the most. It's not that much work if you have your system. I'm all about having good systems, and but just one property, you could probably pretty easy do 2 or 3, and it wouldn't be that much more time. So it's not a huge amount of time. The other thing I want to mention too is going back to location. a second home for someone who lives in a rural area, a second home might be in an urban area. It might be in the city. I know a lot of people with second, like lake homes, that's their primary home, and they get that urban pied a terre, so they can go to the theater when we have a theater. They can do those kinds of things on the weekend, and then go back to their lake home during the week. So just something to think about. It doesn't have to be your traditional sort of vacation property.
Right. Well, and there's still opportunity, depending on your market, to rent those short-term rentals.
Yeah. If the community allows it, they're less likely to allow it in urban areas, but most of the very large metropolitan areas do allow it. It's where you get into those little communities, those gated communities, places like that. The restrictions are a little bit tighter.
Right. Amazing. Okay. So going back then, something you said in your introduction, you started talking about when we started getting on realistic expectations of having multiple streams of income. You mentioned 4 things I wrote down. You mentioned you got to have a different business plan. You got to time block differently and manage your time differently. And you can't be afraid to invest. You mentioned those things. I kind of want to go back there because, again, if we're trying to give someone some ideas of what they need to do now to go and think about investing, and again, it's investing in owning the real estate or investing your business into managing short-term rentals. It's still an investment and they still have to do this. I think those are things that apply to any business. It expounds when you have 2 businesses, but talk to me about that. Because the fact that you mentioned it, how important is a business plan in all of this as you're going into multiple?
Yeah. Well, I think a business plan and a budget is very, very important because you have to have, it's the guiding force, right? It's, when you go to the grocery store, you go with a list, you know what you're going to get, what the end goal is, right? And it's the same thing in business. I don't know. I mean, one thing in business, honestly, in the real estate business, it's showing up. It's showing up every day. And so many agents I see kind of wait for that phone to ring. They wait for the business to come to them. But I think the opposite, that we have to go after it. And the business is there. There's plenty of business for everyone. I 100% believe that. But so many people just don't show up. So have a plan, have a structure to your day. But before you even get to the day, have that 12-month plan, have a 5-year strategic plan. Know what you're trying to achieve. And like when I was talking about my vacation rental business and how we boiled it down to, literally what I didn't say is I had a monthly goal for the team, but I also had a daily goal. And we had to get it down to that level in order for everyone to feel that they had something to work against. And I had them track it every single day. So in real estate, we might be tracking our phone calls, our emails, our leads, that were our listing appointments. That's very, very important to track. But if you don't know what you're trying to get to, and that's where your business plan comes in, then tracking it is somewhat meaningless.
Right.
So my team could have been tracking their sales every day, but if they didn't know what sales they were trying to achieve, they would have been like, I don't know if this is important,
What's so interesting about that, and maybe my team, we can drum up some of these old slides, but for years we would do a survey to agents who made over $250,000. We compared that to agents who made $70,000 or less. And the big discrepancies, that was number 1 and 2 in our presentation. Was number 1 was 250,000 agents 100% of the time have a written business plan that included a budget. I mean, exactly what you're saying. They had something to work against. And then the other thing was all of them tracked daily metrics to make sure that they were in line with their business plan. So,
right.
So that's amazing, and in line with what we've seen over and over with highly successful people. So, so you have to have a plan. And I also, just to insert again, what you said about setting goals for your team and the business plan and the budget and the goals. I mean, again, I'm trying to bring it back to the agents who have been asking us, where do I invest? How can I invest? You got to start with a goal, and then you got to write down a plan of where you want to be, just like Sarah's saying, in 5 years, 12 years, and then what are you doing right now to get there, I think is a really important thing. How much time do you devote to each of your businesses?
That is such a great question. It's been heavy on the vacation rental lately because it's just we've been absolutely slammed because of the pandemic, and I'm super excited. I just hired another full-time and operations manager because of this, all the flows. I was able to snag a great professional out of the hotel and hospitality industry, and so she's going to be really taking over a lot of the stuff that I've been involved in, because I really want to extricate and focus on real estate. Because even though the vacation rental business has carried us during this pandemic, at the end of the day, that real estate business is highly important, very important to us, and and profitable. So to answer your question, it's probably been about 50-50. I want it to be 80% real estate, 20% maximum on the vacation rental. But it's because I have a really good team. I've got a great team managing that vacation rental business. And part of my job as a leader and manager, and something I've really had to learn how to do, is to let go and trust others to do their job and give them that authority and voice to make decisions without needing my involvement. So.
Yeah, well, that in and of itself is the advice that maybe somebody needed. That's important.
It's hard. It's hard as entrepreneurs because we like to control things. We just do. So we have to learn to let go.
Yeah, and that is hard. So, okay, I kind of want to bring this back to just based on some of the questions I'm seeing that are coming through. Bring it back to someone going and buying an investment property, and or although there's a lot of questions too about if they want to manage properties, where do you find the rentals that either you're going to buy or that you want to or that you're going to try to manage the property for someone?
Yeah. Well, there's just so many different answers to that question. We do direct mail. Direct mail has been very successful for us, but in this particular area that we have vacation rentals, in terms of getting, and we do direct mail about real estate, but we end up picking up a property to manage because we always put a little blurb in about that. We do a ton of email marketing. We capture email addresses everywhere we can. We don't let someone off the phone without getting their email address, because that's a very, very effective way to market. Word of mouth, being involved in the community. We sponsor golf tournaments. We just do anything to keep our name out there in front of people. So Facebook, social media. I mean, there's just so many different. We kind of do it all, to be honest. But we also nurture our top people, our VIP clients, we call them. Anyone that we've done business with in the past is a lead source, is a referral source for other people. So we stay in very, very close contact with anyone that we cross paths with. And so on some level, it might just be email. On other levels, it's wine tastings and dinners and lunches. You know what I mean? It just kind of depends on who those people are. And we categorize all of our leads, A, B, and C, and depending on their ranking, they're going to get different types and amount of communication from us.
I'd love to go on that tangent for just a second. Tell me what is your A list, your B list, your C list, and how often do you communicate with each one?
Yeah. Okay. So and I'm talking just about leads, not past clients. They wouldn't be categorized. They'd be categorized as past clients. So our A leads are anyone that is ready to buy or sell a home right now. And we typically would have an appointment with them. If we don't have an appointment with them, our goal is to get that appointment. So we would call them a B lead. Our B people get a phone call, or preferably a phone call. Sometimes it's an email or a text. Text is good too for certain people, twice a month. And our C's once a month. The C leads are people that are a little further out, say 60, 90 days plus. That person that calls and says, hey, I'm thinking about selling my home I just want to get your thoughts on how we can get it prepared. Or I think I might want to buy a house. Keep your eyes out for, something, but I'm not ready yet.
Sure.
Those are the C's. So they hear from us once a month, and they also might get regular listing updates from us by email. So B's are twice a month, C's are once a month. A's, the A's have an appointment with us already.
Okay.
So if we go on an appointment and we're not setting another appointment or schedule or getting a listing agreement or a buyer agency agreement, then that lead becomes a B lead again. And the goal is to make everyone an A.
Right.
And we boil it down to how many appointments we need a week in order to reach the annual goal that is that we put in writing in our business plan. So you got that on the A,
Yeah.
B's, and
No, that's amazing.
and a cold lead, would be a C. A cold lead would be a C unless we know for a fact that person is ready right now. So if somebody calls us, let's say they see our website or something like that, I mean, chances are if they're calling us, they're probably a B. They're probably pretty close, like 30 to 60 days they're going to be buying or selling.
Okay. And so these are same kind of contact schedule for buyers and sellers then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're all categories the same. Mm-hmm.
And your past clients, how often are you reaching out to them?
Oh, past clients need to hear from us twice a month, but it might be by email. And there's different things we do with our past clients. So one of the things we do is we have a VIP kind of referral program for our past clients. So as soon as they close a deal with us, they are part of that club. They get an opportunity to, we do a really cool gift basket giveaway once a month. So they hear about that. It's all by email, but if they win, they get to come into our office and we get to talk with them while they pick up their gift. We try to get people to come into our office a lot.
Okay.
So past clients, we love them because even if they're not going to buy sell a home again for 10 years or maybe never, we want to, they're fans at that closing table, and we want to keep them in our fan club by staying in close touch.
Right. I love that. We could have talked about just that system of follow-up for the full 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
So
and we're pretty strategic about it. Got a plan. I have my administrative assistant. She shoots out an email every Monday to the whole team of this is an A week or it's a B week or a C week. And so everyone knows what week it is. I'm not going to say we're perfect, but I'm telling you, we're a step ahead because we know how to categorize our leads. We know the importance of following up with them. We're always looking for better ways, and we're always looking for better ways to do it without spending a lot of money. So,
yeah. Well, that's amazing. Are you using videos and emails as well? Are you doing any of that?
We do video on social media. So we do, and in terms of like videos embedded in emails, that's something that's on our list. We're not experts at that yet.
I got you. Not yet. I like that.
Not yet.
Well, I'm glad you have something to go work on before we have you back next, and then we'll follow up with you.
There you go. Yeah, give me a little time on that.
All right. So I want to just touch a couple of times again on the investment. Do you have any criteria? Are you still buying vacation rentals, or are you mostly focused on your other businesses?
Yeah, I would. I have 3 right now. I had 4. I sold one to one of our buyers who compared everything to mine. So I just finally said, just buy mine. You can have that one. So I'm at 3. I'm tempted all the time. I mean, I think I have a pretty good eye for seeing a property that has good potential as a vacation rental. I like nice properties, and I don't like to do a ton of work on them. So I'm not that person that buys that falling down property and sees the vision. That's not me at all.
Right.
But I would buy absolutely if I saw a great opportunity. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just get a broad question of, if you went back to give yourself advice as you were starting both of these businesses, starting a vacation rental, a management company, your residential real estate company, also your personal investments, what advice would you give that person if they were in your shoes back in 2008 when you were first starting
Yeah.
to look at all this?
Okay, that's a really good question. Number one, I would have gotten my real estate license way sooner. I really, really pushed back on that. I had a lot of people along the way. In fact, some of my clients, I was managing their properties. They said, "Oh, you really should get into real estate." And I just had this image I couldn't get out of my head that is not really a true image, but it was in my mind, my stereotype. So I would have done that a lot sooner because that's been a really great business for me. The other thing I really would have done, I was like right out of the gate, I'd say within the first 6 months of getting my real estate license, I hired someone to help me in the office. So that I'm glad I did that. I probably, I could have done that sooner, even in the vacation rental business. There was a point in that business when I realized if I got hit by a bus, literally nobody would know where the money is or where the keys are. And I started writing down everything, every process, every system, and I put it on my desk. And because I didn't have anyone helping me. And I think looking back, I should have probably hired somebody to assist in that business earlier, and it would have allowed me to branch out sooner. And then the other advice I would give myself is just learn to be a good leader and manager earlier in the process, because that's been definitely my biggest growth area.
Is learning how to, well, and you said it multiple times, that it was about the team and the people, and you have a good team behind you, and you have I think you've said that throughout. So yeah, I mean, any leadership books that you would say you've got to go read this one?
Oh my goodness. I read so many good books. I read so many books. Oh gosh. I can't even at the top of my head think of what the best one is. There's so many. Tribe of Mentors is a great book. Tribe of Mentors is a book. Is all, I don't know if you're familiar with that book. It's short essays, and it's all the question you just asked. If you could go back, well, how would you do things differently? What have you learned in your own life? And it's short essays. That's something that you could read with your team or with your teenagers. Great book.
Well,
So.
Well, and what a great recommendation. That's why a lot of people are on here. They want to hear. They want to do what you've done without all the pain of what you had to go through to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of that's the American dream, right? We want to do it without the pain and suffering. If we can learn from your mistakes, then so great. That's great. I guess my last question here would be just a blanket. What would you tell people with where they're at in their real estate business? And you have so much experience in every area. I feel like we need to have you back, because I would love to dig deep on your follow-up system, and just in your real estate business, I think is very applicable to our audience. But just go through the two businesses that you have, and then maybe even again on your personal investment. And the advice that you would tell somebody if they're going, I want to be on the podcast in a few years, telling my story of all this success in my real estate business, in my property management business, and my personal real estate portfolio. And any advice you give on those three areas to people who want to get going?
Shut up. I mean, I think so often, like I said earlier, we just, people are attracted to this business of real estate because a lot of times I hear people like the flexibility, and they don't realize the amount of work it takes to be successful. That being said, you don't have to do it all yourself. And I see a lot of agents who are just frazzled, and they are showing houses at 9:00 at night. I did this my first year. I remember a phone call I got at 11:00 at night from a client that put me in tears. And my kids were like, "Mom, what the heck are you doing? What kind of a business is this?" And that's when I realized that we can set boundaries with people, and and I tell my team, your day ends at, let's say, 7:00. You communicate that up front to your clients. Of course, if there's an emergency, it can wait, but nothing good happens after 7:00 in the evening in this business. It's usually high emotion, something. So I say, manage your time, be very careful about your time during the day, be very productive. don't work 7 days a week, take some time off, have other interests, have friends, don't give up on those things, but just be really structured during the day and be very mindful and planful about what it is you're trying to do. So, and get help, get assistance. Don't feel like you have to do it all. So,
right. Thank you so much. Well, Sarah, we should have you back on the show again to talk about more in depth on your real estate side. But again, we've had so many agents reaching out, asking about investment properties, asking about expanding their business beyond just the sales, residential sales. So, so some of that people are looking to expand into commercial, some are looking, but property management seems to be kind of a one we hear a lot about, which is why this information was so great for
and I just want to say too, like vacation rentals, like we hear about investment properties and everybody thinks it's those, those 4 families in the city or, whatever. It's different in every community, or those little houses, the $50,000 houses. There's different ways to look at real estate investment. And so maybe the idea of a vacation rental is something people wouldn't typically think about. So,
right. But I mean, the extra work with all that extra, 3, 4, 5, 10 times what you're getting on a monthly rental, makes it a very appealing investment property if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all of that information about all of those things. For those that are listening, I hope that you wrote down a few of the key things. There were so many things. There was that small tangent of follow-up. I hope you got that, of categorizing your lists and your leads into an A, B, and C list. And Sarah went through and told us those things. That was pretty amazing. And then just about getting into the rental and property management space, I think it's a great place to look to as you look to expand your business. Sarah, if you could hang out on the show, I'm going to wrap things up with the audience, and then if we could chat kind of a post-show chat here. But for those of you listening, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate the time that you put into this. We hope that you grabbed the gold nugget that you needed from that. If not, go back and listen to it, because there was a lot of cool things that Sarah had to share in there. We're going to be back on Wednesday with Jeremy Back, who is a specialist. He's done a lot in his business, but he really likes to focus in on Friday. I got you. Thanks, Andrew, for chiming in there on the 10th. That's right, on Friday. So Jeremy really specializes in the pre-foreclosure, has a lot of experience, not just through the last recession when everyone was doing short sales, but that's continued in his business. So he'll be on Friday. For those of you that want to continue the conversation about investments, about vacation rentals, about anything that we've talked about today, you can do that on 2 places, either in our customer forum, forum.theredx.com if you're a customer. If you're not a customer, but you like following the content, then you can join the Facebook group, the Elite Prospectors. We'll post links for both of those things in the comments. But please join us in those places, because we'd like to continue the conversation. And we'd even invite Sarah. There's people who are going to ask questions. I'm sure we missed some of the questions. I try to jump in there and ask those as part of what we're talking about. But if there's more questions, then how would they reach out to you or find you, or where can they learn more about what you do?
Yeah, they can actually go to our website. It's bernardrealestate.com. Our vacation rental website, which might be of particular interest, you can find it. Actually, there's a tab in the real estate website to that, but it's also separately under Sarah Bernard Chalets, CHALETS.com. You can see all of the properties that we manage and how we manage them. There's a ton of information there. There's a contact form, and my phone number is on both sites. So certainly welcome to reach out by email, phone, whatever.
Awesome.
Happy to chat.
Thank you, Sarah. And thanks for everybody. And we'll see you on Friday, 1:30 Mountain Time.